Well, it's the end of the road. Hello, freaks, geeks, and all those unique. This is EmceeFrodis, and I just watched Carry On, the series finale of Supernatural, and I'm feeling a couple ways about it. First of all, I have seen some reactions online to it, and I'd like to address those. Um, this is not the worst finale ever. I know you feel like that right at this moment. There's so many people comparing it to Game of Thrones or How I Met Your Mother or whatever. How I Met Your Mother is the absolute worst. This one is. I feel like this one is exactly what it's supposed to be. It's the execution that's a problem. Um, I understand what they were going for with this one. And the character beats, I agree with. I foresaw Dean dying and Sam going on. There's a few problems I have with the way they did it. I don't know if that has to do with the fact that this was shot while COVID was happening, so they had to use a really condensed cast. However, a couple of things. Um, Actually, probably the largest problem I had with this is over the last two episodes, they didn't mention Eileen. They'd been building her up as Sam's girlfriend for this entire season. And that's who I feel like Sam married in this, but we have no idea if that's actually the case. We I mean, certainly like that, blurry kind of woman that you could see in the background. Yeah, you could say that that was probably her, but she didn't get a single mention after she was snapped out of existence. And that bothers me because she was such a major character and she was Sam's endgame. And I don't know if that's just because they couldn't get Shoshana Stern through quarantine or whatever, but it bothered me. And I mean, this probably won't come as a surprise considering I'm a huge Destiel fan, but I had a problem with the lack of Cass. You have Dean go to heaven, and you have Bobby say that Cass helped rebuild heaven, which I saw. I mean, last week I was talking about how Dean was going to end up going to heaven, and heaven would be all spruced up by Jack. And we find out that Cass was let out of the empty, but we don't see him. And that's a problem for me because you can't say you didn't want to see him because he had his big dramatic exit, because if you wanted him to have that big dramatic exit, then that should have been it. He should have been stuck in the empty. But you tried to have it both ways. And I feel like the reason the writers decided to have it both ways by not having Cass appear is because if you had him appear, then they would have actually had to confront the love confession that Cass made. And it was just never, ever mentioned. And that, I mean, I will still be doing a video essay on Castiel and Destiel and everything. But it was the fact that it wasn't acknowledged at all is the most glaring thing. It didn't have to be like this passionate kiss or whatever. Honestly, that's not something that I've ever looked for. But the fact that this confession happened and just kind of did not mean a darn thing, and that Cass's big sacrifice honestly didn't mean a darn thing. Because now he's helping Jack run heaven, I guess? If you had wanted that to be Cass's finale, then you should have had that be Cass's finale. It's it's just hard to have this, grand exit of him being super sad and sacrificial and beautiful, and then be like, oh yeah, he's okay. Um, I also feel like this episode, there was just. It's like I know what they wanted me to feel, but there was a hollowness to it. And I think a large part of that is that this episode was mostly montages. And I wasn't able to get an emotional grasp on what was happening because we weren't really seeing things play out. We had the montage at the beginning of them going through their day to day, and then you had like this fight scene, and they didn't need to meander on the case for so long. They could have cut a bunch of it out. Like, they could have just, started it with them fighting the vampires, because do we really care how they got to the vampire nest? No, the important thing is that Dean dies there. And I loved the scene where Sam and Dean are in the barn alone, and Dean is telling Sam to let him go. That was lovely, and I thought they both did a wonderful job. But then afterwards, then it's kind of just, sad montage, and the Sam moving on just had no real emotional impact for me because we didn't really get to see him process it at all. We got the scene of him like leaving the bunker and shutting everything down, and then all of a sudden he's got a kid with a nameless wife because we don't know if it's Eileen or not. Um, and when they had him get older, I'm sorry, I was super distracted by how terrible, terrible, terrible Jared's old age makeup was. It was, oh, it was just not good. Um, and I feel like you can't even really use the excuse about not bringing Eileen back because you wanted to keep the cast down, because you kept on recasting the kid. You had like 3 or 4 different kids playing Dean Jr. And he was certainly very close to Jared, so you couldn't have given us like one scene of Sam with Eileen where we find out that that's where Sam moves on from, like he, was able to process what he went through with his brother's death by, getting with the woman that we know that he loves. And I loved the scene with Dean and Bobby. I mean, as much as I hated that Cass was kind of dismissed with just a line, I loved that scene. I liked seeing original Bobby back. The Honestly, when I started, like, I was so stunned when they killed Dean that I didn't start crying until I saw original baby with the, Cas license plate, and I realized that they were sitting in front of the roadhouse, which makes me wonder if Ash was in there. I really hope so. But I don't know, because they didn't mention Ash or Joe or Ellen or any of these people, and I realized that there's just so many people to talk about. But I don't know. There I just feel like there was just something missing. And maybe this is because I just watched it and I'm still trying to process it. And yes, I kind of knew that this is where the show was going to go. But I'm okay with where they had the show go. But I just wish that they had gone there a little bit differently. And I swear it's not just about Destiel. Honestly, I didn't need Destiel to become canon. I needed Castiel to show up. If you're going to say that Cass is okay, then you need him to show up. Um, and if you don't want to acknowledge what happened, at the very least, just have, Dean say, I guess we have some stuff to talk about. And Castiel says, well, we have eternity. And then a million fics could be born from that. I just. The very end shot, like with Sam arriving, that was great. And having them on the bridge together. And somebody had posted on Twitter that they're wearing the outfits from the first episode. And I nearly lost it again when I saw that. That was great because they were standing on a bridge in that episode, and it all kind of matches up, and it's just it's it was always going to come down to Dean being the one who died and Sam the one moving on. That was always going to be the way it was going to go, and I'm fine with that. I really am. I just they tried to make it a happy ending, and I do believe it was a happy ending. Um, but it just feels somewhat hollow to me. And I don't think this is the worst ending they could have done. I actually think that this is the exact ending that they should have done. However, I do understand people being upset about it. I think, honestly, I don't know if all of that is because the episode is bad. I think that it can be very easy to lash out at the fact that this is the last one. There's a lot of people who hate the last episode of things because it's the sign that things are over. I can think of very few series where people are content with how things go out. Um, Maybe All Good Things, the Star Trek Next Generation episode, that one ends things out pretty well. But there was just not enough emotional summing up of everything. If people are happy with this, then I'm glad. If people are upset by this, I understand. Um, I'm neither. I'm confused. Um, I think maybe they bit off more than they could chew. They thought that they could sum this up in 45 minutes, and that ended up with these montages that just did not strike me the way I think they intended them to. I yeah. Um yeah, I think I'm going to leave this here. I don't know if I can really go on about this episode. I'll probably be doing some more about it once I have more time to digest it. This is seriously, I'm recording this at 10:48. So, I just finished watching the episode and basically just had time to set everything up and started to record. So I've not really had time to let it digest, and it maybe I'll feel differently about it later on. Um, I don't think so. I think that this feels just hollow for me. Um, I'm not sad. This is not like a fangirl weeping because she didn't get her way. It's there's just something that didn't strike me right about this. So tell me what you thought of Carry On. Comment below. If you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel. I'll be doing some more supernatural videos, although obviously no more reviews because there's no more episodes. But I'm also doing Star Trek reviews and Star Wars. So until next time, carry on. Live long, and may the force be with you. Thanks to these patrons for keeping the lights on around here. I very much appreciate all of the help from you guys. So if you want to keep watching more of my videos, click on my cartoon face over there and you can go directly to my channel and check things out.